Welcome to Breaking Banks, the #1 global fintech radio show and podcast. I'm Brett King.
And I'm Jason Henricks. Every week since 2013, we explore the personalities, startups, innovators, and industry players driving disruption in financial services.
From incumbents to unicorns, and from cutting-edge technology to the people using it to help create a more innovative, inclusive, and healthy financial future. I'm JP Nichols, and this is Breaking Banks.
Today on Breaking Banks, we feature the newest addition to the Provoke family, Breaking Banks Africa. In this episode, host and executive producer Matteo Rizzi sits down with Sandra Yao, Ecobank's group head for cross-border remittance, payments, and banking-as-a-service fintech. With 20 years of experience driving fintech and payment innovation across Africa, Sandra brings a unique builder's mindset into one of the continent's largest financial institutions, operating already in 39 markets. From pioneering mobile money to tackling fragmented infrastructure and regulatory environments, Sandra shares how interoperability, accessibility, and digital transformation are reshaping the future of payments in emerging economies like those on the African continent. Additionally, Sandra reveals how Ecobank is empowering young African talent, forming major tech partnerships, including with Google, and creating API-first solutions to help fintech founders scale cross-border. This episode is a must-listen for anyone passionate about Africa's digital growth story, inclusive innovation, and hearing about those turning vision into execution. From Nairobi to the world.
Hey guys, welcome back to Breaking Banks Africa. My name is Matteo Rizzi. I'm the executive producer of the show. And today is going to be, I feel, a very special episode. I'm welcoming Sandra Yao from Ecobank. Sandra, welcome to Breaking Banks Africa.
Thank you, Matteo, for having me. Super looking forward for this session.
So, when I was, mentally preparing for this conversation, I said, this is Breaking Banks Africa. And people might ask, what is a bold Italian and an Asian-looking lady talking about the continent, right? I believe actually that we're going to prove after this half an hour of conversation that our story and our commitment, but especially your commitment, because you're speaking from Nairobi to start with, will actually give us some more credibility. Would you please quickly intro yourself, Sandra, for our audience?
So the name is Sandra. Right now, I'm currently serving as the group head for cross-border remittance, payments, and banking-as-a-service / fintech for Ecobank Group. Joined the bank about a year ago. I've spent the last 20 years in Africa, immersed in tech, payments, and fintech ecosystem, often in high-growth, agile startup environments, and focusing on building payments systems, rails from the ground up. So I came into this role with Ecobank September 2024 with a builder's mindset. My focus currently is blending that fast-paced, innovative agility with the stability and the vast Pan-African reach of Ecobank Group. Particularly passionate, like you, Matteo, about driving interoperability and to unlock the continental's economic potential. Ultimately, I'm here to ensure that the future of African cross-border payments is seamless, optimized in terms of cost, and accessible to everyone.
So you said that you have been in Africa for 20 years. Can I ask you, without getting into personal story, but how did you ended up? You're not much older than 20 years old, but I'm pretty sure that there is another part of life that was outside of Africa. How did you end up in the continent?
I think life is about adventure. Let's start from there. Africa holds this mystery from especially people coming from Far East. Particular. I'm coming from the mainland of China. 20 years ago, that was a time I would say earlier time when there is a lot of drive, from Far East into Africa. I was fortunate enough to be part of the earlier people coming into contributing. So my first job started with Huawei on the continent. As you can imagine, that's the time they were really coming overseas, start building the telecommunication network across Africa. So I came into Africa. Again, I was lucky enough. My first station was in Nairobi, and everyone knows Nairobi is one of the best places to be. And I made this my home. So 20 years later, I'm still here.
Amazing, amazing. Let's talk a little bit about something that I believe is a topic that is not only very close to your heart, but fundamental for the future of the continent. Guys, Sandra is my go-to person in anything about payments. For more than that, but I met her first when she was still at Tunes. We can still name it. It's not, maybe one day they will sponsor the show thanks to this free mention. But Tunes is one of the pioneers in building these new payment rails, and we're going to talk later about this super interesting jump that sort of merges right in your work, a background that is more agile, fast grown up oriented, and a player that is more, I don't want to say tradition, but certainly looks more like a corporate. But why is everyone so excited in building these new payment rails in the continent? And why is it different from, I believe, any other place on earth, build these rails in Africa?
I think the single most important word here is actually interoperability, right? The fragmentation, and within Africa, we are 54 countries. Often I have to repeat this. Africa is not South Africa or Morocco, right? Let's start from there. So we have 54 regulators. We have a super fragmented payment system at the continental level, and we have a super fragmented regulatory environment. We have great rules in place, by the way. I think we are the continent that really pioneered and leapfrogged the traditional payments. So the birth of mobile money, the likes of M-Pesa, Airtel Money, Orange Money, MTN. We also have domestic instant payment rails. I mean, if you look at Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, and we also have the card networks, right? But they often operate in silos. So therefore, it makes cross-border payments much more expensive, slower, and complex. So as I mentioned, that my passion is really in fintech and payments. So this opportunity gives me I would say a great platform where I can combine my mindset when it comes to startup and builder with a running engine that is established, experienced, and we have a reputation when it comes to safety standards. So that's when you combine that with the stability of a reach of a tier one corporate and the speed and excitement of startup to solve some of these biggest continental cross-border challenges, I think it's really the best of both worlds. If you ask me, I'm super excited about just this opportunity to have me and run with it. Yeah.
Sandra, you are in what I believe is the cradle of the payments innovation, because it's the home of M-Pesa. So Nairobi is almost the poster child. Kenya is almost the poster child for innovation in payments. Yet, Ecobank is present in, I want to say close to 40. I don't have the number exactly. It could be
Correct?
37.
39.
39, exactly. So close to 40 countries. And in some of these countries, there are very different type of challenges, okay? Starting with, for example, is not only financial literacy, is actually literacy as a whole. People can't read. You have an illiteracy rate of even over 30 or 40% in some of the countries
Yeah.
where core bank is present.
Yeah.
How do and this of course gives a huge challenge to the last mile, right? Where it's not only about rails, but it's also about reach this population that maybe they actually have a mobile phone, but in some case they can't read whether or not this is a payment button or a receiving button, right? How do you, and this is a bigger question that you as an Ecobank executive is actually reflecting your own experience of someone that has seen this evolution over the last 20 years. But also, I'm pretty sure you have visited a lot of countries in the continent, and challenges are not the same, right?
Yes, indeed.
How do you think that this last mile battle or the let's say the conquer and even the opening up the opportunities of this last mile is going to take place? How do you make people that cannot read included in the payment space?
Great question, Matteo. I think that's what you described is always in the back of our mind while we build our solutions for our customer. I think whatever we're doing, and as a Ecobank team, we are saying that everything we do, we are doing for the customer. So the customer needs, customer satisfaction is at the heart of everything we do. So if you look at today where we operate, we operate in some of the toughest, jurisdictions, as you can imagine. There could be a coup, there could be, war happening, and this further states our vision and mission is really to power the economic growth of the continent by the virtual fact that we are there. As we build towards a digital solution, we are not forgetting that we have people who are possibly very far from, where the bank is. We have people who are possibly not able to read. So therefore, we have invested massively in our agency banking. So our agent becomes our representative to help these people to get onboarded to transact. We also have, our branches. We try at our best, to be available, to be closer to the people. But at the same time, I think I always like to look at the bright side, right? The continent is very young. 65% of the population is below the age of 20. I think there's a great push that we know that these people are digitally born, digitally savvy. As we build our solution, we need to look at 10 years where we will be and 10 years where this population will be. And we are hopeful that with the support of the mobile money, the telecom network, that the access to information, access to platform, access to data will become much more readily available at a much lower cost. So therefore, that we are also building with the mindset that we are building for the future. So we are catering for both worlds, but I would say that if you look at the future 5-10 years from here, I think that the current people, the younger generation of the population will become now I would even say the pillar of the continent. And we are hopeful that they will be more financially knowledgeable, but it does not mean we do not continue invest in terms of how we can support their growth. I know you know Ecobank quite well. we've launched multiple projects, schools, accessibility to technology, the AI hubs. So we want to continuously invest and give back to the society to empower them.
It is true that you actually made me think of an angle that it wasn't crystal clear until this conversation, which is amazing. Time is actually on Africa's side, right? Because
Yes.
because the not only it is the youngest continent, the average age I believe is 19 years old. So it is true that today the ones who are really, really financially excluded are maybe the elderly people in the villages, but maybe their kids or their grandkids will probably enable them by osmosis, right? So, you're actually right. The battle is actually not there. The challenge is how to empower the youngest generation, right? So the one that in 5 or 6 or 10 years are going to be fully empowered to use the financial services. That's actually super interesting. Thank you for shedding some lights on this.
Customer support in the world of financial services is hard. Between policy compliance, regulations, audits, security, and complicated customer queries, the stakes are high. That's where Fin, the best performing AI agent for financial services support, comes in. Fin handles high-stakes performance and ensures policy compliance with no-code controls. And if you're wondering whether it really works, just ask the thousands of customers using Fin to provide end-to-end customer support every day. To learn more about how Fin can handle the most complex financial queries and transform support teams, head to fin.ai/breakingbanks. That's fin.ai/breakingbanks.
So, guys, I know decently well that I know Jeremy Awari, the CEO of Ecobank, tried very hard to have you to hire you, and he finally succeeded. It wasn't as easy as having a coffee and say join. I will not unveil details that I'm not supposed to unveil, but the top boutade here is that you're a very atypical banker, right? Today, you're a 1 year young banker, right? Almost, actually, a little over. And in your previous job, you and the company were very successful in building this new payment rails. And I totally understand why Ecobank brought this experience into the corporate world. Now, it did not only brought an experience, but it also brings someone. And I'm putting words in your mouth, but you contradict me if you think I'm not putting the right ones. That came also with at least a very different mentality, not because there is any right or wrong mentality, but simply because the corporate doesn't go at the right, doesn't have the same agility by construct, right? So how did it feel, to cross this, huge bridge, right, professionally, right? I think that everyone wants to know.
Matteo, as you rightly put it, atypical is, I would say, the right word to describe it, right? I'm not coming from a traditional banking industry. Even as I joined Ecobank, I always tell people I am not a banker. I'm a payment person. You can even call me a startup, as you like, right? If you look at my 20 plus years experience in Africa, I have spent a lot of it in payments, fintech, startup, and sometimes pure play tech space, right? I love to build things from ground up, right? I have been deeply involved in building systems from scratch and payment networks, enterprise solutions for telcos, banks, and fintechs. What makes the Ecobank become a very interesting in terms of my shift is now I'm moving from selling the solution to running the engine on a massive and a Pan-African scale, right? I always look at Ecobank as this giant that they have been strategically placed in the key markets, right? When you look at the footprint, we are second to none. The second is quite far behind in terms of the footprint to us. I don't come again from the traditional banking products compliance, and I really come with a mindset of a builder and agile and fintech, right? I want my business to be run like a startup. My passion is still tech and fintech. I'm sure you can, since I joined, you can see some of the partnerships we have brought. Google is one of them, because Google is Google, right? It's the best tech company there is. We are also. This also demonstrates that our willingness and focus to leverage on the best technology, to evolve, to leapfrog, and to build the most robust and secure network for our customers. Because at the end of the day, we are a financial institution. We touch money, right? And we want our customer to feel safe. We can't move billions of dollars when you do not have a robust and safe platform for our customers. So I think the journey has been very interesting. I brought the agility, like I mentioned, that we will set up dedicated squad or labs, and focus on building MVP. Traditionally, large corporates, they want to build things perfect, right? And here we want to run, let's get going. Let's get the MVP out in the markets. Let's test, let's try, let's learn, then let's move forward. Let's make some mistakes, but learn from it very fast. Let's not take 10 years to build a solution that maybe the world has moved. So the combination of those two becomes very interesting. You could feel sometimes, of course, there's questions to being asked, there's some tensions, but I look at it positively, right? And, sometimes for me, is it positive tension? Because now we are becoming a much more diverse group of people with different backgrounds. I think that's the beauty of it, right? So educating people that, it was good. What Ecobank has done was really good. And now when we look at how the market is rapidly moving and at a speed that we've never seen before, right? How do we cater for that? So then we come together with their background, the corporate knowledge, with the startup mindset. How do we gel together? I think it's very interesting, rewarding at the same time.
Absolutely. And you remind me a little bit, even if there is no possible comparison, but this group of rebels and misfits that are usually two words that are not very well accepted in the corporate space, but it is almost like the corporate version of a misfit, not because it doesn't fit, but in this case, because she tries to bring a complementary type of mentality, right, to the one that was already in the bank, which is actually a nice segue of the next topic I want to talk about, because I know that you have been building your team, you have been hiring a few people. I believe there are a couple of you will keep hiring for the next 2 to 3 years, but go look into the Ecobank website, because there are still a couple of open positions. But my question is more about the talent that you were able or not able to find, and related to that, the whole capacity building aspect of the continent, right? I don't think today that there are enough tools to be able to build capacity at scale in the continent. We all know that. We talked about it a lot. Talk us through a little bit your own experience in hiring high skilled people, right? Because these are people with experience. You're to me, you're an African talent because after 20 years, you clearly belong. You don't have the same color of the majority of the people, but you're an African talent. It's rare, right? Because this generational gap hasn't been filled yet with the right competencies. What's your vision, and even through your own experience in building your team, Sandra?
I think capacity building is perhaps the biggest strategic challenge and opportunity, especially in payments in the current context of payments industry. The bottleneck is not capital. I just want to make that clear. It is really skilled engineers and product people who deeply understand the local context. If you look at how our banking infrastructure has been built, right? It was built in the West, right? And they brought it here and we took it, use it, adapt it, and there's a saying that's don't break it, don't change it if it's not broken. But unfortunately, that the how do I say, the intrinsics of Africa is very different, right? If you look at the credit card penetration across Africa is below 3%, right? In some countries, you are not allowed to have a credit card. As simple as that. Like you mentioned, these 30 plus countries we operate in are very, very different. So therefore, that just copy paste what has been working in the other side of the world here cannot work for us. And a lot of the talent, especially in payments, in a general global view, is they are mostly not here, right? And here what we have is bankers who have been in the banking industry, who have been doing this, and they have that deep knowledge that we need to appreciate. But when you look at fintech is new. It's last 10 years or so, has now influxed into Africa. And young people believe that because of the inefficiency of the financial system, the birth of the fintech and the acceleration. So therefore that we have a lot of young people, you and I, we talk about this as well, founders mentality. Oh, I think I can do this much faster. But then somehow in the process, that's the governance process, the corporate knowledge that they did not focus, and the compliance, by the way, because when you are talking about financial technology, you are touching financial and you're touching money. So compliance is really fundamental and mandatory as you build a long-term and sustainable, scalable business. So my experience has been, look, in my previous role, that we grew from a 3% to about 30 people in the span of 2 years during COVID. It was like crazy growth, right? It took us a long time to hire, but of course, for Ecobank, we are focused on really hiring local people, right? We want to empower and facilitate and grow our talents in Africa. So this is why we have, projects ongoing with different partnerships with university graduates. We put them into a program to give them the opportunity to get onboarded, right? And we also want to work with you on your other projects to make sure that we can do this matching when it comes to capacity and talents. We take that quite serious and we invest, right? But for me, it's also about creating a sticky environment. When you want to hire effectively, you have to be the destination for talent, right? Are you creating a narrative that you doing something impactful? As you know, a lot of people who are in Africa decides to make Africa home. Some of them went abroad and came back is because they also want to have that impact in everything that they do. So we want to make sure that we give them that opportunity with the impact statement, working on products that truly matter for the future of Africans and our, economic growth. But what I always tell startup founders is, let's not limit ourselves. When we are building a solution, we should not only build for Africa. Who says that our solution cannot be exported to the other side of the world and solve a problem? Because if you look at the Silicon Valleys, right, when they are building for America and for the world. They don't just think about, I'm only building for this city, for this country, but when they think about it, it's globally. And they don't even know potentially the problem we have on ground in Africa, but they believe it will solve your problem. So we should not try to limit ourselves. Like when we build, let's build for globally a solution. That's how you can grow, right? So yeah, the hiring has been, I would say, quite challenging, especially because the cross-border remittance is a very complex and special skill set. You really need to have that knowledge that what does this mean when you fund in this corridor? How do you fund? What currency? What's the exchange rate? What does the regulatory say? How do I do the reconciliation? How do I make sure my connection is seamless? There's a lot of intrinsic details that I'm looking for, and we are really calling all the talents in Africa, especially, or to come and join us on this very exciting journey, right? And we're happy to train and to coach, because sometimes it's also not possible to only find the experienced people, right? So that's why we're open to young people who are graduating, who are in their first year jobs, and we want to grow with them and give them the opportunity to be part of this, hopefully successful journey.
I want to use the last minutes of this podcast to allow you to make a call, right, or actually to explain a bit better. If I am not someone with an idea, because if I come here with a PowerPoint and no product, no traction, you and your team won't have time to listen, that's for sure. But there are today, let's say, either grown-ups or new innovators or entrepreneurs with a solution that if they do their homework right, and there will never be enough coaching in how to explain an entrepreneur to tell a bank that they have done their homework so that the banks can understand and not simply look at the PowerPoint. I guess that where I'm going is how Ecobank is preparing the ground for entrepreneurs to be able to interact with the bank. This is spot on part of what you are building. And I believe that you have a vision, right, on how Ecobank can interact with this vibrant ecosystem. At the end of the day, if you do capacity building, you do it to have more startups helping Ecobank to achieve its mission, right?
100%. I think start from the fundamentals, right? As I mentioned to you when we were interacting, the fact that we are in 30 plus countries in Africa, we are really well positioned to facilitate. And I think for me, it's always about collaboration and partnership. And I always say that if fintechs are doing this better than us, I would much prefer let them do it, reach a segment of the customer which they cannot reach. Let's facilitate that. Let's not look at them as competition. Let's be competition. Why not? Right? So right now, that's why my biggest focus is building the platform. Because without the platform, it would be very difficult for these fintechs to integrate to us, right? That's why we are building an API first, platform. Everything will be API based. It will be easy to use because we brought Google to come in to help us. So that's the first. Second is to make sure that we are building a robust framework to work with these startups. I think one of the things, the missing link in terms of how banks were working with the startups and the fintechs was really there was no a robust framework. What does this mean when this company wants to do this with us? What are the steps? What are the hurdles they have to go through? Can we streamline this so that they interface with one department, not with 10 different departments, right? So I think that framework is important. And number 3, I think it's very important and we should talk about is commercial. Is the commercial viable for the fintech and for us? Because after all, we are all trying to do this because we are a profit-making company. As much as we want to, facilitate, empower, we are here. We also have obligations to our shareholders. So I think the commercial viability is very important. That needs to make sense for all the parties. So those are 3 things that today we are working tirelessly internally to make sure that we build that. Then we will open up the door for the fintechs. And of course, we cannot do this alone without the regulatory, without the regulatory environment that will allow us, for instance, what Ghana and Rwanda have done, the passporting of the license is super important, right? We need to look at why EU is because it's a one common market. You can operate in France and you can operate in Germany, right? So today, if we could also do that, that means we are enlarging our ecosystem. So for me, it's work underway. And that's why it's as part of our GTR strategy and transformation, building the foundation, the infrastructure is really core, as everything that we're building today to make sure we are giving the interface becomes delightful, whether it's to a business, whether it's to a fintech, whether it's to the end consumer.
Sandra, thank you very much for the time that you have given us. I know that your schedule is far from being easy to manage. And by the way, shout out to Rose. She will listen to this show for sure. And, for helping us getting Sandra to do the show. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was lovely spending this time with you. Looking forward, to our next session.
Absolutely. I was actually about to say that I'm looking forward to our next coffee session in Nairobi. It's becoming a tradition every quarter or so. And guys, that was Breaking BaaS Africa episode number 10, and it's a wrap.
That's it for another week of the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show, Breaking BaaS. This episode was produced by our US-based production team, including producer Elizabeth Severance, audio engineer Kevin Hersham. If you like this episode, don't forget to tweet it out or post it on your favorite social media, or leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, or wherever it is that you listen to our show. Those actions help other people find our podcast, and in return, that helps us build an audience that can be supported by sponsorship so we can continue to provide you with our award-winning content every week. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on Breaking BaaS next week.